I'm Taylor Scheib, and I'm here at Fred Hutch because this is where I get my care for my thyroid cancer. I found a lump in my neck 3 years ago after a fun night of karaoke in Denver, and I immediately went to my doctor. Blood work, ultrasound, and everything was fine. No follow-up needed was a phrase that was told to me so many times. No follow-up needed. A year later, my husband and I had moved from Denver back to Spokane, and I had a friend mention, "Do you know you have a lump in your neck?" And I'm so thankful for her saying something, because when it comes to advocating for yourself, for other people, it's so important to speak up. And she spoke up for me. She didn't know, that I had gotten it checked out, but it did prompt me to go get it checked out again. So I did the process all over. I had a new doctor in Spokane, ultrasound, blood work, everything looked fine. No follow-up needed. And at that point, the lump had started growing. There was a picture, my husband and I had gone camping, and I was with my dog on this log, and the lump was so big. I was embarrassed, and I get a little emotional because how did I let this go on longer than maybe it should have? But when you're being told it's nothing, no follow-up needed, it's benign, you don't think let's take this out. But at that point, I advocated to get it taken out. A couple of months had passed. I finally got into the ENT, and unfortunately, my experience was not the best. It was a lot of, this is your choice, it's benign, the ultrasound is showing the features are benign, your blood work's great. Do you want a scar? Those are the words that were said to me. And I said, yes, I want this out of my neck. And it had started impacting my day-to-day, whether that was working out or the way that I was sleeping. It felt like it was choking me at that point. So of course I said, yes, I want it out. And I finally got in to get the nodule removed. Did not think twice after that surgery about the pathology report. No one said anything to us. It was my mom who was like, when are you gonna get your pathology results? And I was like, you're so right. Obviously, they're gonna take this 5.7 centimeter mass and they're gonna send it in. And yeah, we got the results on a Monday night at 5:15 through my chart. So I am one of those unfortunate stories where I found out I had cancer through my chart. My surgeon and my care team at the time was very apologetic for that. And I know it's not their fault, but it was devastating for my husband and I to just be sitting there on a normal Monday night. He's cooking, I remember it so vividly, and it came through, and why wouldn't I open it? Why wouldn't, especially because I wasn't thinking it was going to be anything. But you see the word carcinoma on the pathology report, and I knew what carcinoma meant. I had no idea what oncocytic meant, which is the subtype of my thyroid cancer, which is less common. And oh, it was horrifying. The next day after I found out that it was cancer, I just started researching. I started looking at comprehensive cancer centers because I'm so privileged and lucky to work for a healthcare organization where I talk to cancer patients every single day, and they taught me to advocate for myself and to get the care that I wanted. I had heard about Fred Hutch, and I just looked up their number. I don't even know how I got to the person I was talking to, but I talked to a nurse navigator. She was so kind, and she treated me like an actual human. And I think when you're going through something that unfortunately is very common these days, it's not something you think will happen to you, but when it does happen to you, you want to just be treated like a human, a person, not a number. And Fred Hutch has done that for me from the very beginning, from that very first phone call. When we originally came to Fred Hutch, you get set up with a care team, and mine was an endocrinologist, Dr. Roth. Looking at the pathology report, she knew immediately. I had vascular invasion, so not only was the mass a tumor that was cancer, it had gone into a couple of my blood vessels on the left side of my thyroid. So just from my pathology report, she knew, we are taking the rest of your thyroid out, you will be on Synthroid the rest of your life, and you have to do radioactive iodine therapy. She just made everything so steady. And it's because when you have a foundation of a care team that is confident in what they're doing and they know what they're talking about and they're bringing it to the level that you are, oh, it's so nice. It's such a game changer. And then she brings in this incredible surgeon, Dr. Udavar, who is now my surgeon, and she also was the same way. She was so calm, cool, and collected. She had the facts. She told me exactly what was going to happen when she went back in. Yes, we'd go through the same scar. It would be a similar surgery. And when you have your thyroid removed, it's an outpatient procedure usually. You go in and then, you stay. But that was also something we had to navigate too, was I live in Spokane. I've been having to travel here for the last 6 months. And I mean, what a beautiful place to travel to, so lucky. But that has had a lot of logistics to it. So when I had my surgery to remove the rest of my thyroid, Dr. Udavar wanted us to stay in town for a couple of days just in case anything happened. We traveled from Spokane here for the surgery, stayed near UW Medicine, UW Hospital for a couple of days. Then we went home to Spokane, and then we had to wait. It had to be 8+ weeks after that second surgery to do the radioactive iodine therapy. So I just enjoyed the summer. My husband and I really just enjoyed the summer. We had to come here a couple of times for follow-up appointments and then doing a teach about the radioactive iodine because it is a process. There's a lot of precautions. There's a diet you have to go on called the low iodine diet, and it sounds as awful as it was. And so finally you lead up to radioactive iodine therapy. And for me, I'm so grateful and truly just so lucky because I know what other people have to go through. It's a one-time pill. When you get to the point where you're taking the pill, it's very simple. The nurse comes in, the doctor comes in, it comes in a canister, and you put gloves on. They handed it to me in a little plastic cup, and you just swallow it. And then you go into isolation. You do it at a Fred Hutch facility, so I was at the Banky house, and again, everyone's just so nice. And I didn't get to really meet anybody there because I had to be in my room for basically 3 days. And then you come out and you have precautions. You have some contact precautions and liquid precautions, but nothing that is too much to handle. And I'm just so grateful to have the people I have in my life. My husband, my dad had flown out, my friends and family, my mom calling me all the time. I just have a lot of support. And then you have the support from Fred Hutch, and I just was so happy to finally get to that step. And here we are. So I think that the diagnosis and what I've gone through has just reaffirmed that life should be lived positively. It should be lived with joy, and you should do things that make you happy. Whether that is walking your dog or splurging on a really amazing vacation, or if it's just saying no. If you don't want to, if you just want a weekend, for example, of nothing and rotting on your couch and watching Netflix and eating popcorn, you should do those things. And that is what this experience has really taught me. But there's no going back at this point. I'll always be the person I was, but now I look at it I am a better version of myself. And I love Taylor Swift a lot. And she lived a very authentic life. She always has. But then when she has like this Taylor's version, that's kind of how I look at it. This is Taylor's version of her life and the way that I want to live it. And cancer has taught me that. If I would have just continued to let the lump, maybe it would have continued growing, maybe it would have not grown, I don't know. But when I went to that surgeon and I said, I don't care if it's benign or looks like it's benign, I want it out. I don't care to have a scar. I will embrace the scar. I just think if I would not have advocated for those things and really stuck with my gut, it's scary to think about what could have happened. And the other thing too is getting multiple opinions is so important. And there are situations where that first opinion is something you're comfortable with. It's what the standard treatment plan is or whatever it may be. But if there's any doubt in your mind or any just curiosity, it's not even doubt, it's curiosity, that you just want another set of eyes or someone else's mind to take you through what the treatment plan should be or what the next step should be, go and find someone else. Go and find 2, 3, 4, 5, however many people that you are able to go to, please go and get a second opinion. Because if I would not have been educated or known or researched Fred Hutch, I would have not been seen in Spokane for 2+ months after finding out I had cancer. And to think about that is wild. Coming to Fred Hutch changed the trajectory of my life, of the plan, of my treatment plan, of truly everything. It is worth the 4.5-hour drive. It is worth the 45-minute plane ride if you have the means to do that. It's worth the hour-long light rail ride up here to Fred Hutch. It is all worth it because the trajectory of my life would have been completely different if I did not get a second opinion and if I did not come to Fred Hutch.